Hello. So I thought we would work with this idea of being really wide or finding a sense of width and openness and spaciousness within our body. Especially, I'm filming this it's really quite hot here, so in a sense it's quite easier when it's warm to feel, to allow ourselves to widen, to open and be spacious. But when it's cold, obviously we close ourselves in, and emotionally sometimes we can feel as though we're quite closed in. So it is on a very sort of a deep level, just to work with the idea of being bigger than we think we are, because often we close ourselves down and that contracts our muscles. So when we have contraction in our muscles, that can cause tension, and tension can cause discomfort, and discomfort can translate as pain inside our mind. So when we can really get this whole sense of, can we make ourselves more spacious, wider, and then we have that idea, it leads towards that idea of letting go of muscles. When we let go of muscles, the idea of tension within muscles, when we can ease ourselves a little bit into our body, we just feel a little bit more comfortable. So obviously we kind of have to work and be with our breath as we work in this way. So if it's just to start, we come down onto the ground, onto your mat, or onto a place where you've decided to be, and just allow yourself to settle. And if it's okay, keep the soles of your feet flat to the floor. So that just allows the front of the body to relax a little bit, the abdominal muscles, and if the abdominal muscles relax a little bit, the lower back, the back of the body will start to just find a little bit of support into the ground. And it's all these things, and before we actually do anything particularly, just wiggle, just lift up one hip at a time, just ease into the back of the body. You can take the feet a little bit wider, you can experiment with how you want to be. You can take one leg up and give the leg a little bit of a shake, sort of one way and then the other way. And there really is, you have a sense that you're just trying to wake up your body a little bit. I know yoga is all about relaxing and all these kind of things, but the body has to wake up in order to learn to let go. And then you can circle that ankle, doesn't matter if you're right leg or left leg, circle the ankle a little bit. And then when you place the leg back on the floor, have a real sense of connection. So the foot comes down and you can feel the ground beneath the foot. You've got the base of the big toe, the little toe and the heel. And just for a few moments or so, just notice if that foot, that side of your body feels a little bit different to the other side. And if you place your hand on that leg that you've just been working, and if you push down into the foot and let the hip come up, so you tilt over to the other side, and now ever so carefully, you can use your hand as a guide to allow that hip to come back onto the ground, and have a real sense of feeling to where that hip is, to the knee, to the ankle, to the foot. Now you try to change nothing in that side of the body as you take the other leg up, and you can give it a bit of a shake, but the other side of the body, the hip, the leg, the foot, stay connected to the ground. You can circle the ankle, and if you circle the ankle, you might feel that translating or cascading down through the bones of the leg to the knee, through the bones and the muscles of the thigh to the hip. Really have that sense that your knee joint is really a heavy, big heavy joint. The hip is strong, but it's really quite deeply buried. So it takes a lot to find mobility in the hips. And then when you're ready, just very carefully bring the left foot or the other foot back down onto the ground. And now just have the hands on the hips and just spend a few moments, feel the base, the big toes, little toes and heels. And if you don't know what I mean, lift the toes up, push down into the base of the toes, bring the toes down, lift up the heels, and then let the feet come down, let the feet rest. Now that leg that you've just worked, push down into that foot to lift that hip. So you just tilt slightly over to the other side and let your weight drop onto that side that you've dropped towards. And then very carefully bring your hip that you've lifted back down. Now you might feel that your knees are a little bit wider, so you can drop down into the base of the big toes, and then drop down into the base of the little toes, make it equal, and then the heels. So your knees are just going up towards the ceiling, the knees might be above the ankles, but however you've placed your feet, there's a sense of comfort in the legs, and there is space between, so we're not trying to close ourselves or make ourselves smaller. We're always having this sense of trying to widen, make ourselves as big as we possibly can be, because we're not trying to hide ourselves. We have a voice, we have a body, and we need to show it. Then just stopping for a few moments. You can let your hand rest on your hips. And if it's comfortable for you to close your eyes, close your eyes. And just notice if you can feel your breath. If it feels too much just to breathe at this point, you can keep your eyes open. You can focus on the sensations of your hands resting on your body. But if you can, be aware of your breath coming in, and do you feel the breath in the nose, or do you have to breathe through your mouth? If you can breathe through your nose, see if you can breathe through your nose and out through your nose. If your nose is blocked, you breathe through your mouth. So don't force ourselves to do anything that feels uncomfortable, because we're trying to ease ourselves of discomfort. We don't want to accumulate more. So awareness, attention to how you're feeling right now is really key. So being aware of your breath coming in, being aware of your breath leaving, and where your hands are resting quite low on the hips. Can you just imagine or feel the breath really quite low into the pelvis? Front of the pelvis as well as the back of the pelvis. The lower belly at the front, the sacrum or the lower back at the back. Just being with your breath for a few moments, quietening down, just being with the silence. And then very, very carefully allow your knees to drop over to the right, and now just go to where they go. Now your left hand is on that left hip, so we're just going to try to find a bit of space and width in the pelvis. So underneath your left hand, push the left hip up, push the left hip up. So you might have to go down into the left foot, up through the left hip, and then stop pushing and let the hip drop. And when the hip drops, you're going to feel that dropping down through the right side as well. So again, underneath your left hand, push the left hip up so you can feel the sacrum, the lower back, the area at the base of the spine, they're starting to lift as well, but you drop down into the right hip and then very carefully let the hip wide. Have a sense, use your hand to imagine that you can widen that left hip, draw that left hip away from the right hip, so you make more space between the right and left hip. And then with your left hand resting on the left hip, with your right hand ever so carefully just soothe or draw everything from the left hip down into the right hip. So almost as though you are just trying to drop everything away inside that left hip. So all that stuff that we hold on to. We can translate it as tension or discomfort in the muscles, but we can also have a sense of that emotionally. It can tighten us up. We hold so many emotions deep inside our pelvis, emotions that we don't even consciously remember. So you're just drawing down into the right hip. And then when you're ready, you just stop and the hands can rest wherever's comfortable for you. You feel the weight of the left hand on the left hip, the weight of the right hip on the floor. And the sacral area, the lower back, the back of the pelvis may have just lifted up just a little bit. And then you ever so carefully bring the knees back up. You can shift, you can rearrange your body, and then you can allow your knees to drop to the left. And the right hand is on that right hip, and underneath that right hand, push the right hip up. So it's quite a tense, strong movement. And then you drop. Underneath your right hand, push the right hip up. And then this time when you drop the hip away, imagine you can draw the right hip as far away from the left hip as possible. And that left hand that can rest on that right hip can draw down towards the left hand from the right hip is drawing down towards the left hip, as though you're just trying to pour everything inside that right hip down into the left hip to make space inside and around the right hip, above and beneath, inside and out. So really have a feeling that your pelvis can be wide and spacious, doesn't have to be held and contracted. And then when you stop, you just allow yourself to feel the weight of your left hip dropping into the ground, and the right hip drops away. Notice if your right shoulder's lifted, that's okay, but you maybe just draw the knees up a little bit. Just have that sense maybe where your breath is felt. And maybe with your right hand on the right hip, you can feel the breath in that hip. And then you bring the knees back up. And you stop, and you can wiggle around a little bit, just have a sense that your lower back can now really rest into the ground. If it feels like a nice thing to do, you can draw the knees in, you can rock a little bit from side to side. You can take the legs up, can rock, can circle the ankles. And then you can see, if you circle the ankles to the right, you can feel the lower back starting to be massaged a little bit into the ground. And you can make big circles or small circles. If you circle the heels a little bit to the left, both heels or feet to the left, you can feel that massaging effect in the lower back again. So whatever you're doing, always bringing your attention to the sensations that you feel. And that contact with the ground is where our attention goes, our perception goes to where we feel contact. And then stop, let the weight of the legs sink down into the hips, the weight of the hips connect to the ground. If it's okay, can we take the arms up and the weight of the arms sink down through to the shoulders, the weight of the shoulders rest down into the ground. And then we're going to ever so carefully take the arms wide, let the arms come away from the body and then drop the feet back onto the ground. So you have that sense of connection through the feet, but now the arms are wide, and can we feel that width underneath and around the armpits and around the sides of the ribs? And when you feel your breath, maybe now you can feel the breath a little bit higher into the ribs, but not just the front of the ribs, the sides of the ribs and also the back of the ribs, and have a real sense that your arms connect all the way back through to the centre of the spine. So when we take the arms up, and we bring the right hand on the left shoulder, left hand on the right shoulder. Draw your chin slightly down. Breathe into the back of the body. And as you breathe out, go wide with the arms. Have a real sense of widening and opening through the arms. Then the left hand on the right shoulder, right hand on the left. Really have that sense of breathing into the back of the body. Widening, opening, making space, and then as you breathe out, go wide with the arms and stop. A real sense perhaps now that you can feel that connection from the fingertips back through to the centre of the spine. So we're going to bring the left hand where the centre of the spine would be just below the ribs, just above the navel. So the left hand's going to rest just there as you take the right arm up. Now just to get a sense of connection of where the centre of the spine is, if you push the right arm up, and then you're going to try to touch the ceiling, underneath your left hand, you're going to feel a contraction or a connection or a response. Now we're going to leave the arm above us, but drop the shoulder down. And let that, find a sense of quietness now in the centre of the spine. So the centre of the spine stays quiet. So if you're not sure, do that again. Push up through the fingertips, and underneath your left hand, you're going to feel a contraction. So that means you've tightened, you've consciously created tension. So now, bring the shoulder, right shoulder rest back down, and underneath your left hand it relaxes. So we're going to try to keep that sense of quietness, because those muscles are going to work anyway. We don't have to do more than what we need to do. Then the right arm can come down by our side, but nothing inside the body changes. The right arm goes up and overhead if possible. And you're going to feel a slight change, but you try not to take the ribs with you. Take the arm up and back down. Try not to take the ribs with you as you just move through the arm. And maybe the next time the arm comes up, take the arm over to the left and the head can turn to the left. Take the arm over to the right and the head can turn to the right. But have an imagining or a feeling that when you move the arm, it's coming from the centre of the body over to the left, and the head can turn in the same direction, over to the right, and the head can turn in the same direction. So can you imagine, or can you feel, can you understand that your arm is moving from the centre of the spine? And then we're just going to come back to centre, swap hands. We're going to bring the right hand on the centre of the spine, and we're going to bring the left hand above. So the centre of the spine is just below the ribs, just above the navel. Left arm is above. So again, if you just experiment, if you push up through the left hand, you're going to feel underneath your right hand, things are going to contract. You're going to tense something up. So we're trying to avoid those muscles tightening up. So when you relax the left arm stays up, the shoulder drops. Underneath your right hand, that stays quiet as you take the arm down, left arm down, take the arm up and overhead. So underneath your right hand, your body, your spine stays quiet. That's all we're trying to do. Just easy, easy, quiet. And your attention, your awareness, your focus is everything, because that's what allows the brain or the mind to settle down, and then your body will settle down. Your nervous system will calm. So it happens as a result of your concentration, of your awareness. Then the left arm can come up. The arm can go over to the right. You might touch the floor, or it might not, or just onto your right shoulder, your head turns to the right. Take the arm up and out to the left, and your head turns to the left. Take the arm up and over and underneath your ribs, inside your spine. You can feel movement, you can feel responses, but there's not a strong reaction. There's not a tightening. There's not a tension as you just move the arm from side to side. And then when you're ready, take both arms up, but you're not changing anything in the ribs. Nothing changes in the ribs. Then we take the arms wide. And now you feel your breath. And maybe you can feel your breath really quite quietly and easily in the centre of the ribs. Or the lung spaces. Just notice where you feel your breath. Can you even feel the breath underneath and around the armpits? And then when you're ready, you're going to carefully just roll onto your side and come over into all fours. So we're gonna try down dog, but we're gonna try to work it in a way that we're not disturbing ourselves too much, and we're trying to find length in our spine. So if it's possible for you to start from this position, sort of kneeling, or you can be like this. You can pad the knees up with fold the blanket or fold the mat. So we want to bring our hands onto the floor, but without disturbing the shoulders or the spine. So we already know now that the shoulders and the arms connect back through to the spine. So our spine is a very strong but a very precious thing. So we're trying to find mobility in it without tension, without forcing. So if we just circle the shoulders around a bit, quite gently circling the shoulders. So we know now that when we take the arms forward, we don't want to disturb anything inside. So when we start to move forward, so think of the front of the ribs coming in, the back of the waist rounding a little bit. If we can bring the hands onto the floor, they're very, very light. So the hands might touch, but we can bring them up. So something inside here, the centre of the spine starts to activate. The hands come down, but there's also an ability to bring them up. If possible, we tuck the toes under. Now you might feel as though your weight goes back, but then can we feel as though we can send the weight forward? So can we send the weight, when I say the spine forward, so shoulders stay wide, and think of the collarbones right through to the top of the head, moving forward. The hips stay back, so you're not bringing your hips with you, your hips stay above the knees or even further back. So it's the crown of the head and deep inside the spine, underneath the collarbones, through the breastbone. The spine is moving forward, but the shoulders do nothing. The shoulders stay connected back through to the spine. And then we try to change nothing as we lift the knees. Now as we lift the knees, you're sending the crown of the head forward through the breastbone. The spine moves forward, forward, forward. The heels might go down because the lower spine allows them to. The hands engage and the shoulders connect back through to the spine as the crown of the head moves forward. And your spine, well done, and your spine becomes very, very long. You feel the breath in the back of the body, let go of the weight of your head. Your heels might go towards the ground or they might not, and then ever so carefully bring your knees down and just see, is it possible to ease back into child's pose? You've just gone to where you can go. You can support your head with your hands, or your forehead might come onto the floor, just seeing what's possible for you. So we're going to try one more time. So if possible, we're going to start from kneeling. So we haven't got our hands on the floor at first, because working with that idea of what we were working with practicing before. So the arms come away from the spine. So if we can, when we take the hands onto the ground, we have a real sense of connection. The arms are in front of us, but the spine stays quiet. Even if we take the arms up, the arms go up, but the spine stays quiet. So if we can lift the hips and the hands come onto the ground, we're not dropping the hands heavily. They're very, very light. And you might feel as though your weight is back towards the heels. But when the hands come down, then send the spine forward. So the crown of the head moves forward beyond the hands. Think of the spine. Think of the very top of the spine moving even beyond the crown of the head. The toes can tuck under. The elbows don't have to be locked. Don't lock the elbows. Try not to lock the elbows. And as you lift the knees, keep that feeling of moving forward. The hips, think of the hips coming up really rather than going back. So there's a feeling of moving forward through the crown of the head, and the shoulders stay connected back towards the spine, and the bones of the arms rest down through to the hands, but you don't have to, hopefully you're not pushing. And think of long, long spine. Think of width underneath the armpits, width around the collarbones, width around the sides of the ribs. So you're not trying to make a shape at all. We're trying to find a real sense of length from the tailbone right through to the top of the head. And then notice where you feel your breath. And obviously when you've had enough, you can bend the knees and you ease yourself back down into child's pose. So you can stop, you can support your head with your hands, or your forehead can come onto the ground, whichever feels good for you. And now notice where your breath is. Always bringing your attention back to your breathing. Your breath is what gives you life. Your breath is what gives you health. So it's never a waste of time to bring your attention back to your breath. And that's how we build awareness of how our body is. If we're tired, if we're unwell, our breath will change. So coming to sit up when you're ready. So just getting used to being upright, because we're going to come to stand, and I thought we'd just work with a few standing poses. So just taking your time, coming to stand. Just coming to stand. So just move the mat in this direction. So coming to the back of your mat, just stopping for a few moments. Maybe taking the feet a little bit wider. And then just equating what we're going to be doing now to what we were working with on the floor. So when we were doing those rotation, we were trying to make our hips a little bit wider. So if you find the outside edges of the feet, maybe you can allow the hips to feel a little bit wider. But also when we did those rotations, there was a feeling of the ribs coming away from the hips. So when we take the arms up, we're not trying to take the ribs, push the ribs up, but we can have a sense of the ribs separating away from the hips, just a little bit maybe. Just stop for a few moments with the arms above you and just imagine the heels below. And just imagine a feeling of the ribs just separating a little bit from the hips. And then we're going to let the weight rest into the right foot and let the left foot be a little bit lighter. And can you imagine from the centre of the spine, deep inside there's a feeling of lift, and that might lift your left foot, and then maybe the left foot will come on the inside of the right leg. And now you can hold on to a wall or whatever you need, but you just have that feeling of coming up. Focus your gaze, feel your breath, but you're trying not to use your hands, you're using the strength of the hip, and then come out. Just stop for a few moments, and if your foot just went to your ankle or just below, there's nothing wrong with that. That's absolutely fine. Your foot will go where your hip allows it to go. So your awareness of your body builds that kindness or compassion with yourself. So you're not trying to force anything. You're not trying to make anything different, because it's difficult to make things different, isn't it? It takes a lot of effort. So we're trying to work without effort. So if it's too much to take the arms up, you can let the arms rest on your collarbones, or you can let the arms just go out to the sides. That just kind of, you decide where is it right for your body to be, because we're not trying to make any particular shape. We're just trying to find a sense of movement, a feeling of spaciousness and width deep inside to open. So when we take the arms up, think of that width we can find underneath and around the armpits, around the sides of the ribs. You focus the gaze and don't rush anything. Notice where your breath is. We're not drawing the ribs away from the hips on purpose, but we can feel perhaps that there's a bit of space between the base of the ribs and the hips. We can feel the ground beneath the feet. We can feel the breath inside our body. And now we're just going to send the weight, let the weight transfer a little bit into the left foot and lift up the right heel. And we try not to push into the left foot because the weight goes down anyway. Focus your gaze. And then imagine where the centre of your spine is. Deep inside the centre of the spine, imagine that will lift your right foot. Deep inside the centre of the spine, that will lift the right knee. And that will place the right foot. And there's a feeling deep inside, underneath the spine, there's a feeling of coming up. But the arms connect back through, deep inside the centre. You focus your gaze, you breathe. And then when you're ready, ever so carefully, you just come back out of it and you stop. And then we're going to leave the left foot alone, just as it is. And we're going to take a small step forward with the right foot. And again, can we get a sense of feeling the outside edges of the feet will allow the hips to widen. The arms aren't being heavy or hanging or anything like that. Can we imagine the weight of the arms being given back to the shoulders? And deep inside the shoulders, can we imagine that sense of coming home, back to the centre of the spine? We allow our weight to rest into the feet, and can you find that back heel? Let the arms just kind of rest down by your side, but have a sense of connection through to the shoulders. And then at the back heels, imagine the back heels speaking to your lower back. So there's a feeling of coming up into the lower back. A feeling of taking, when we take the arms out, we're coming out from the centre of the spine. Almost as though underneath your arms you're being supported. Deep inside the centre of the spine there's a feeling of coming up, and can we start to turn towards the left, away from that front leg, away from the front leg. But the arms are coming back, we're not stretching away through the arms. And if it feels comfortable for you, you can start to move forward past that front leg. You've already done your turn. The right hand might come to rest on the right thigh, or the right hand might go a little bit lower, and that will take the left arm up. Your gaze can be down, or you can turn the gaze up. And then you come back up to stand when you're ready, and step back. Just stop for a few moments. There's the width between the feet, and then we step the left foot forward. So you don't have to go very long, you don't have to go very wide particularly, but you can find the base of the big toe, you can find the base of the toes, from the big toe, little toe, and then if you lift the heels, you get your balance a little bit, and then very carefully, almost by increments or stages, you bring the heels down. If you need to bend that front knee, you can bend the front knee. You don't have to make everything the same, or think that we're symmetrical, because we're not. We just do what we can. We do what our body allows us to do. To get a sense of coming back into the back heel, we can let the hand rest on the chest or the heart, and we send the weight back into the back heel. And then you can let the front knee bend a little bit. And deep inside underneath the ribs, we can start to turn a little bit towards the right, away from that front knee. And the back heel rests down as the front knee moves forward. Back heel rests down as the front knee moves forward. You can keep your gaze forward, or you can take the gaze wherever feels comfortable for you. But have that real sense of width and opening around the inside the ribs. And you can start to move forward if it feels comfortable for you, but keep that sense of the back heel speaks to the lower back, the arms speak to the upper spine. And there's a feeling of moving forward and down. Left hand goes down, right arm won't go up. But if it's too much for you, you can keep the arm above, you can keep it below. Let the hand above you just rest on the body, because we're trying to wake up the spine, we're not trying to make a big shape. And then we come back up when we're ready, and we can step back. And then just stop for a few moments with your feet a little bit wider. And if you feel your breath, notice if your body feels a little bit wider, a little bit more open. So even when we bring the arms down, we're not trying to close the armpits. There's always a sense of width and widening, being bigger than we think we are. So take the right foot forward. So we're not trying to compress the lower back. We're not trying to compress any part of the spine or any part of the body. Even when the foot comes down onto the ground, it can move. You can move forward and back. But make those movements worthwhile. You're not just wiggling around or moving for the sake of it. You're moving forward and back to find the ground. So when the back heel comes down, the front knee can move forward a little bit. If you want to lift the arms, it's to make space and width around the armpits. If you take the elbows out, it's to feel as though the shoulders are widening. But then, even though the elbows are out, can we imagine the elbows coming in? And then we turn deep inside the ribs, we turn towards the left. And the elbows, think of where that right elbow is. The right elbow might come towards the right knee. The right hand might come a little bit lower. The left arm might go up. You don't have to hold it, and you can come back out and step back. So just do one more time on the other side. So your feet rest into the ground as you send the left foot forward. The back heel rests down into the ground. So you can rock a little bit just to find attention, just to find connection. The back heel goes down, the front knee moves forward. But you're not taking the hips with you. Your hips just stay quite neutral. Even though the foot moves forward, the hips stay just as they were before. So we're not trying to disturb ourselves very much at all. Your attention, if you're really attentive to yourself, there's that kindness to yourself. So you're not trying to push, you're not trying to force, you're not trying to change anything too much. We're trying to open. We're trying to make space inside our body. So with that in mind, if you place your hands on the outside of the hips, imagine you can push or widen the hips into the hands. Then you might find that the spine starts to free up a little bit deep inside here, and inside the ribs we can turn to the right. The elbows can stay quite close at first, but when you take the elbows out, you can open that space underneath the armpits, you can open the arms. But the arms don't open just for the sake of it, they're there to support the upper spine. So when we move forward and down, the upper spine goes wide and open, and the breath is spacious and free. You don't have to take the arm up if you don't need to. You can keep the left hand on the left knee if that feels better, and then come back up, step back when you're ready, and just stop. Stop for a few moments. So we're going to go into a forward bend, and then we're going to come onto the ground, and I'll do a breathing practice. But so just go careful. If the way I say come down onto the ground, if that doesn't feel right for you, come onto the ground in a way that feels good for you. So first of all, if we take our hands on the back of our body, so what these movements have a real beneficial way of working is to open up and widen the back of the body. So if your hands are resting on the back of the waist, just imagine, if you can't feel it, as you breathe in, you breathe into the back of the waist. And as you breathe out, you can feel the back of the waist respond. So we're just trying to send the breath a little bit lower, but also into the back of the body. And if you can feel movement, it means you've shifted, you've opened, you've changed those muscle patterns a little bit. And then from that area where your hands are resting, you move forwards. You might feel the front parts of the feet start to engage a little bit. And we're not trying to drag the shoulders with us. The shoulders connect back through to the spine. The elbows can stay connected to the shoulders connect to the spine. The weight goes into the front parts of the feet. The heels can dance with the floor a little bit. First of all, think of the crown of the head moving forward, not down, forward, forward, away from the heels. And then let the crown of the head come down. And then maybe you can bring the hands to rest on the ground. But the hands are light, just as we did before. You're not pushing into the ground. The shoulders stay back through the spine, and the hands come to the ground, but they're very, very light, and they're very, very awake and sensitive to what they can feel beneath. And you let go of the weight of your head, and perhaps you can feel the breath in the body. Sides of the ribs, back of the ribs, front of the ribs. Wherever you feel your breath is where you feel your breath. You find the outside edges of the feet, you find the backs of the knees, you find the length in the spine. And you breathe and you wait, and you feel, and you are. And then to come down, you can take the hands forward a little bit. Start to bend the knees and just come down into child's pose. Just see how that feels. So slowing down, being with yourself, and taking your time, coming to rest onto your back when you're ready. So we just work with a breathing practice. So when you come onto your back, take a little bit of time to settle yourself, to be with yourself as you are right now. You might need to shift. You can keep the knees bent. I'd always recommend doing that, because that does make sure that you have your lower back really settled and rested into the ground. So take a little bit of time to move around a little bit, maybe rock the knees a little bit from side to side, or draw your knees in towards you, or do what we did at the beginning of the class, take one leg up and give it a shake, all those kind of things. So none of these are a waste of time. They're all about trying to find release in the body, so that when you do come to a place of quiet, you really can be quiet, you can really be quite still. And in that stillness, we find that sense of opening, that sense of connection to something really quite deep inside us. So when you're ready and you've come to that place where you feel quite comfortable, that you can spend about 10 minutes or so just resting on your back. But obviously if you need to move, you move, but see if you can do it consciously without fidgeting. So then if you feel quite comfortable, you can have your arms down by your side, or the hands can rest on your body somewhere. Your knees can stay bent, or if your lower back feels fine, you can lengthen the legs away. You can support your head with a cushion, or you just find a place that feels quite comfortable for you. And then to begin taking your attention to all those parts you can feel in contact with the ground. So through the heels, parts of the legs, space at the back of the knee. Can you feel the contact through the hips or the lower back? Parts of the arms and the shoulders. The space at the back of the neck. The curve of the skull. So really being aware that you're supported and the ground underneath holds you very, very carefully and very, very kindly. Can we find that understanding that we don't have to do anything just for a while? We can rest. We can quieten. And then when we take our attention to our breathing, that's all we're doing. Our body breathes anyway, and we're just learning to notice. Just as though we're watching something really quite beautiful and pure and simple. And we're not changing it. We notice that breath that comes into our body. And we're just aware when it leaves. And then we refine the practice just a little bit. We notice, are we breathing through our nose? Are we breathing through our mouth? If we're able to breathe through our nose, stay there. If you're breathing through your mouth, stay there. But every now and again, can we breathe through our nose? And then we're refining a little bit more. Can we be aware of the breath in the nostrils? The right nostril and the left nostril. And then we refine it a little bit more. Can we be aware of the front of the nostrils, sides of the nostrils as the breath enters, the back of the nostrils, deep inside and around the eyes. And then when the breath leaves, can you feel that whole swirling and drawing down of the breath as it leaves? But then as the breath enters the nostrils, be aware of that passage deep inside, underneath and around the cheekbones, deep inside and around the eye sockets, behind the forehead. The breath enters underneath the face, and the breath leaves. And you just constantly refine and become more sensitive to the breath. And feeling the flow of the breath as it enters your body through the nostrils. And if you're breathing through your mouth, you just imagine you're opening up the passages deep inside and around the face as you breathe in and as you breathe out. And then taking your attention just to your left nostril. When you breathe in, imagine you just breathe in through the left nostril and you draw that breath in, down through the left side of the body, through the left side of the ribs and the left lung, to the left hip, to the left leg, to the left heel. And then as you breathe out, you let go of the breath and you feel the breath leaving through the left nostril. And you continue, you breathe in through the left nostril. You just imagine, if you need to, sending the breath all the way down into the left lung, through the left shoulder, through the left hip, through the left leg to the left heel and the sole of the foot. And then as you breathe out, the breath travels back up and out through the left nostril. And you continue to breathe in this way, just with the left side of your body. And you imagine it, if you don't feel anything, you just imagine that you are widening and opening the nostril, widening and opening the left side of the body. Making yourself more spacious on the inside. Decluttering, freeing up all those parts of us that become really quite tight and not used and forgotten. And really being aware that your left nostril is really wide and open and spacious. Your left side of the body, your left lung, your left shoulder, your left hip, your left leg is alive. And energy courses through it. And the next time you breathe out, you just let go and you breathe as you do. And then you take your attention to your right nostril and we do the same. So you're just imagining at first you breathe in through the right nostril. You breathe out through the right nostril. You might even have a sense, as you breathe in through the right nostril, can you feel the right eye? Be aware of the right eye, the right temple, the right ear. And let go. So you might find different parts of the nostrils widen and open. Wake up when you breathe into different areas of the body. As you breathe in through the right nostril, through the back of the right eye, through the right shoulder, down through the right side of the ribs, to the right hip, the right leg, the right heel, the right foot. And then as you breathe out, the breath travels back up and out through the right nostril. And you breathe, and you continue in this way. And your attention is everything. Imagination is vital. And creativity wakes your body up and gives it the life and the health and the well-being that you deserve. You breathe in through the right nostril, all the way down the right side of the body, and then the breath travels back up and out. And then when you next breathe out, you let go of the practice and you just feel your breath coming in, and perhaps there's a possibility that both nostrils are a little bit wider, a little bit spacious, a little bit more open. And then perhaps you can feel the breath in the lungs, in the ribs, in the hips, in the legs, in the arms, the hands and the feet. Perhaps you can feel your whole body breathe, because it does. Perhaps you can be aware of your whole body breathing, because you can. And maybe just for a moment you have a sense of width, spaciousness, freedom, openness, and light. And then to prepare yourself to come out of the practice, again, bring your attention to the contact with the ground. support you have. The earth holding you. Your breath loving you. Allow your mouth to soften. The outer corners of the lips just to lift ever so slightly. The outer corners of the eyes to respond. And if you're feeling quite quiet and rested and easy, just allow yourself to feel that. And taking your time, starting to move very gently, carefully. So keeping that sense of ease within your body, even though you know that you're coming out of the practice now. Not rushing, not forcing, just being. Rolling onto your side when you're ready and opening your eyes. So know where you are. Really having that sense of you.